Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Caitlin Smith, and welcome to the AgriFutures Chicken Meat Program webinar series. I'd like to firstly start with an acknowledgement to country. AgriFutures Australia acknowledges the First Nations people of Australia as the traditional custodians of the lands and waters on which we live, learn, and work. We pay our respects to past, present, and future elders of these nations and any First Nations people on this webinar today. In particular, I acknowledge the Gadigal people of Australia, the traditional custodians of the lands and waters where I'm hosting the webinar from today. To those of you who are new here, a very warm welcome, and to those returning to the series, welcome back for the last webinar of 2024. Just before we launch into today's webinar, a little bit of housekeeping. Just a heads up that we will be recording today's session and making it available through online channels afterwards. As I run through the housekeeping items, there will be an introductory poll pop up on your screen, and that's just to gauge some questions to gauge who's in the virtual room. If you don't mind submitting that would be very much appreciated. Thank you. As this is a webinar, your video and audio functionality are not enabled so that we can view and hear our speakers clearly. It also allows us to minimize any background noise and distraction for our guests. And lastly, we will have some time for question and answers at the conclusion of the webinar, but I do encourage you to use the Q&A chat function, which will be down the bottom of your screens, and we can monitor that as we go along and answer that at the conclusion of the webinar. Okay, I'll kick off a little bit about the webinar today. My name is Caitlin Smith. I'm the Research Manager of the AgriFutures Levied and Emerging Industries team, and I specifically look after the chicken meat research, development and extension program. This is our 6th webinar of the series for 2024, and we host presenters to provide you and industry participants with the latest information on topics that are relevant to industry and our research priorities. Today's topic is about the Gary Sansom Scholarship. To give a bit of context about the importance of this scholarship, research back in 2020 quantified that the Australian chicken meat industry provides direct employment to more than 58,000 people. That's full-time equivalent, with many of those in rural and regional communities. Currently, the number of people taking up a career in the chicken meat industry is not keeping up with the demands for employees with a diverse range of technical and practical skills required. This is captured as a key research priority within the chicken meat program, which is centred around building people capability and a diverse and sustainable workforce. The program invests in research projects and capacity building opportunities via industry levies within this area that allow industry to attract and retain a sustainable workforce. We have a twofold approach to this, which includes participants within the industry and across to supply chain to support students and researchers through scholarships and courses. I hope you enjoy today's content, where we will share some brief information about the scholarship itself, speak with 2 recipients of the scholarship with open the virtual floor to any questions from our audience who may have questions about the current scholarship opportunity. The Gary Sansom Scholarship is a scholarship designed specifically to support the AgriFutures chicken meat program industry priorities. We seek to uncover future chicken meat industry leaders by providing funding and additional support to help students make their mark on the industry. The scholarship was established in honour of former AgriFutures Chicken Meat Advisory Panel Chair and Australian Chicken Meat Federation President, Gary Sansom, who was a great leader for the industry. Mr. Sansom was a long-standing supporter of programs encouraging new people into the chicken meat program and industry. The scholarship in his name aims to do just that, encourage new people into the chicken meat industry and support them into a thriving career. Further information about the scholarship eligibility and provisions can be found at our website, A link will be shared in the chat, and we'll obviously take any questions regarding these in the question and answer portion of the webinar. But first, we would like to introduce you to and hear from two recipients of the scholarship. Today, we're joined by Caleb Wellard and Rebel Northey, the recipients of the 2023 and 2024 scholarship, respectively. I'd first like to introduce Caleb and Rebel and thank them for joining us this afternoon before we launch into some questions.
Yes, hello. Oops.
Video's on. I can see you, Rebel. Awesome. I'll kick off. Firstly, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to take a moment for each of you to introduce yourselves to the audience, including where you're from, what you're studying, and why you're passionate about chickens. So, Caleb, if you don't mind starting, that'd be great.
Yep, no worries. Thank you. So, yeah, my name's Caleb. I'm from Deakin University out at Warren Ponds. I have an ecology background and I study birds. I'm obviously currently studying chickens, and what makes me so passionate about chickens is the animal itself. So, I think chickens are they've got such great personality about them. They're very smart animals, and although we understand so much about them, there is still so much to be found out about them.
Thank you. And yourself, Rebel?
Hi, I'm Rebel. So I'm originally from Tamworth, but currently in Armidale at the UNE. Chickens they've always been my family, I suppose. I have a lot of chicken farmers in my history, but for me, in particular, in the last unit of my bachelor, we did a project including broiler chickens, and having that exposure just got me really interested in learning more, and I really enjoyed that project. So when I finished my bachelor, I reached out to the lecturer who organized that project, and she got me directly in contact with my current supervisors, and they had a really interesting project ready to go. And so that's how I got into it.
Awesome. Great insights. Thank you very much. It'd be great to understand a little bit about why the scholarship appealed to you in the first place, and I suppose a little bit about what you were hoping to gain from it. Caleb, if you can kick off.
Yeah, no problem. So I kind of heard about AgriFutures a little bit before the scholarship, to be honest, and some of the projects that have been supported. So just from that, I kind of knew that AgriFutures was great at supporting research projects. But for me personally, who comes from an ecology background and has never had any exposure to industry, what appealed to me the most about the scholarship was how much support you would get from AgriFutures throughout your time as the recipient in getting exposure to industry, especially having an allocated industry supervisor. I thought that was a really appealing part of the scholarship.
So I hadn't heard about it. I hadn't heard about AgriFutures or the Gary Sansom Scholarship. While I was applying for my master's, my supervisors told me to go for it. So I had no real understanding of what it was, what I was getting myself into. I didn't even know that there was only one recipient until we had the interview. But it looked very interesting off the bat, even though I didn't understand a lot of what the information said. But like Caleb said, the offer of having an industry mentor was very enticing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be really good to hear from you both in terms of your current project as part of the scholarship and the important benefits that that project aims to provide the industry. If you can kick off for us, please, Caleb.
Yep. My project broadly aims to test how adding light into hatcheries while eggs are being incubated may benefit embryonic development of birds. In terms of replicating natural daylight cycles for birds, we know that this is important for adult birds. as it influences their physiology and behaviors. But in terms of how it can benefit developing birds, we really don't know much. And we speculate that there will be many benefits, including improving the development of birds in the egg and potentially post-hatch, in terms of, so birds, the chicks may be able to optimize when they can hatch, so we can reduce the amount of time they wait in that hatchery before getting them to the farm. But it might also have welfare benefits in terms of helping them with stress and making them more resilient animals.
So my project is about using food waste to feed broiler chickens. So it starts off with that age-old concept of using your own scraps to feed your chickens, but on an industry level. So it's this really, really big concept, and we've just picked one little aspect of it, but there's a lot of room for future research in that. And there's a lot of reasons to do that, such as less landfill, less food being wasted, less resources that go into the food being wasted. But it also relieves some of the stress on grain production that's being directed at chickens, and that can be redirected towards humans if we replace it with food waste. So there's a lot of reasons to do it, but there's a lot of fine tuning to do to get into it and be able to do it safely. And that's where the research aspect comes in.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, both very insightful projects and very important for the industry moving forward. Just in addition to supporting your studies and research, what other experiences has the scholarship provided you with, Caleb?
Yeah. So I suppose for me personally, outside of research and that, I think it is the support to attend industry functions and to forge new connections with like-minded students, but also researchers. I think another really benefit from my experience anyway with the scholarship was you really get practical experience. So you're not told on pen and paper how things work in a hatchery or a layer farm or whatever. You go out there and you meet the farmers and you understand the process and you get into it, because truly that is the only way you'll be able to really understand and kind of ground your research to benefit industry. So, and I would just like to say as well that I've also had the fortunate opportunity to be contacted for media exposure. So the actual scholarship for me anyway meant that I had newspapers and online editorials and radios channels contacting me to explain to the broader general public why it is that my project did get picked for the Gary Sansom Scholarship. So beyond the research, benefit to research, there are many other benefits as well.
Yeah, I agree and feel very similarly to Caleb. There's so much support that comes from the individual people at AgriFutures. They're very welcoming, they're very flexible, and it very much feels like they actually want us to succeed. And then, of course, on top of that, the exposure to industry events, but having people there that actually tell you what's going on and take you around and introduce you to people instead of just walking in and hoping for the best yourself. It's such a leg up, and it's such an opportunity for advancement.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the expanding of the network is a massive point to make. And also, Caleb, your emphasis around the media opportunities, I think that doesn't go unnoticed as well. In terms of this scholarship moving forward, how do you think it will support your future career in the industry?
I think it kind of relates back to what we were just saying before about kind of making those contacts, establishing that network with other students and other researchers, but not just in the realm of poultry research, but also in terms of people that you meet on the farms and that, especially if you're aspiring to really get into industry, these are the connections that can really help forge a really great career in poultry. So yeah, I think that's how it'll really help.
Yeah, so I'm obviously a year behind Caleb because I started a year later. So I've got some catching up to do, I suppose. But there's always time for that. Yeah, in the future, I think it's something not only good to have on the resume, but the actual practical skills and the networking and the connections that you make. It's a really good way to start off in your career to already have all that. So it's all of this is just it's advancement and just very good opportunity.
Absolutely great points. And then just lastly, I think it'd be great if you could both share one piece of advice that you'd give to a member of the audience today that is interested in applying. What would it be?
Apply.
Good advice.
Yeah, I think personally my advice I would give, which is prior to actually when you're going for the scholarship, is it's very easy, especially if your project is like mine, like especially those that you wouldn't really perceive to be industry focused. It's easy to look at a good opportunity like this and kind of dismiss it and go, no, I don't think my project fits in there. When in reality, this is a fantastic opportunity. You just have to think about how really your research is going to make a change in Australia's poultry industry. Look at AgriFutures, meet program RD&E, read through it. It's those things that I initially thought were going to mean that I wasn't going to get the scholarship, and I was really doubtful. And then I ended up getting it, and I was very thankful for it. So I would say, yeah, definitely don't think that if it's not obviously industry relevant, don't think that it means the scholarship isn't for you, because there probably is industry relevance to what you're doing.
Great point.
Yeah. I think that there's no harm in trying, even if you don't get it, you've got nothing to lose. And you've got everything to gain if you get it. So you might as well. If they knock it back, then they knock it back. But like Caleb said, they might look at your project and think, yeah, this is something that we want to invest in. So you might as well try.
Absolutely encourage everyone to apply. And obviously, if you have any questions through the process, the team are always around to help. You can get in touch with us at the website. Thank you so much both to Caleb and Rebel, both great ambassadors for the scholarship and thriving in their studies. Appreciate you joining us today and sharing your experiences regarding the scholarship program. I will move on to just a little bit about the 20. You can both turn on your cameras off. Yeah, thank you very much. On to a little bit about the opportunity for the 2025 scholarship. So applications are now open. Encourage you to head to our website and apply. The link will be popped in the chat box for you to access. A little bit about the eligibility criteria. The full comprehensive breakdown is provided online, but just to give you a little bit of a snapshot, applicants must be an Australian citizen or resident and enrolled or eligible to enrol at an Australian university undertaking postgraduate study, and that can either be PhD, Master's, Honours degree or equivalent. The scholarship value is also dependent on the level of study, so being Honours, Masters, PhD, obviously different lengths of study. Just in terms of the application process, students are required to outline why they want to contribute to the Australian chicken meat industry and what they want to gain from the scholarship itself. Very importantly, the scholarship closing date is the 31st of January, so there's still a bit over a month and a half left to get your applications in. And just a reminder that actually closes at 12 p.m, not close of business. Just important to reiterate that. In terms of that as a snapshot, that's sort of about it. But in terms of if the audience has any questions, which I haven't seen any pop up through the chat box yet, but I would like to take the opportunity for anyone to pop something in. I can wait around for a short time just to make sure that we don't miss any. But there are also some frequently asked questions on our website page, the Gary Sansom Scholarship website page, which will be provided as a link if you do have any questions following today's webinar. Just checking the chat box. Can't see any questions come through yet, which is fine. Don't be afraid to ask if you do have any. Just give it a couple of seconds. Okay, no problems at all. Yeah, just to emphasize, we do have a Q&A portal on the website, and most of those frequently asked questions are there. But if you do have any specific questions following, please don't hesitate to get in touch with the team. Our details and the program email address can be found at the website. In terms of wrapping up, do we have a Q&A question? How long will the process? How long does the process usually take? So applications close on the 31st of January. In terms of the outcome, I'd have to double check. I'll take that on notice and come back to you in terms of when the outcome would actually be. But basically, applications will come through and will a panel, an internal panel, but also industry panel combined will assess the applicants and then provide a shortlist, and basically then successful applicants for the first round will be invited to an interview with that panel, and then an outcome will follow as a result of that. But in terms of a specific time frame, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'll double check and get back to you, and that will also go on the website. In terms of, I think that was all perfect. Just in closing, I'd like to bring your attention to the post-webinar survey that can be seen on the screen in a tick. There we go. If you don't mind filling that out, that would be really appreciated. It helps us understand your ideas around the webinars and whether they're effective and how we can improve. And just a quick reminder, we'll also provide all the links to the resources mentioned during this webinar. And another thing to note as well is just to please remember to report anything unusual or concerns about potential emergency animal diseases to the EAD hotline for anyone tuning in that has chickens at home or is working in the industry directly. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our speakers, Caleb and Rebel. We've really enjoyed working with you and supporting you during your experience on the scholarship. The program would of course also like to thank all those who have registered and joined for this webinar and previous webinars held in 2024. A link will be made available in the post-webinar communications, which provides further details about who is eligible. However, if there is anyone on this call that either supervises students who are eligible or knows someone who would be interested, please spread the word and encourage them to join the next webinar. As this is our final webinar for 2024, the program would like to wish you all a safe and happy holiday period. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and we shall see you in 2025. Bye for now.